Hey folks, just making this video again. It's just, another day in this saga. God, where do I begin? So, where did I leave? I don't remember where I left off, but basically, um, basically, so my mom had to go to the ER, then from there ICU, then to a regular hospital room, and then, she was for a short time in a skilled nursing facility, and there was fluid buildup in her abdomen. Like I said, I think earlier, that she's been diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. And I don't know if I ever mentioned that she has been a raging alcoholic all these years, and how my father enabled that, and my sister as well. And I was like the only one to really, I guess you could say, see it for what it was, and just sort of accept things as they were, and then try to move on with my life, and get my life together. And I got out of the house back in 2015 and went on to finishing up my bachelor's of science in chemical engineering and trying to establish a life for myself. And I'd been back on occasion to the house to see everyone, but then I get called down here because oh, this is serious, and we don't know what's going on here, like she may have cancer, this may be it, etc., etc. And come down here, and it's like my family hasn't changed. I mean, I hate to say it, but it's kind of like the same old, because we're all here, and there's just so much that's been going on. It's just really hard to sort of break it down into, like, a short video, and even have it all make sense. But you have these hospice folks showing up at the hospital room and saying, oh, she only got 2 months, get her into hospice. And my dad had to push back against that, because we're trying to get her in for a consultation, and start treatment with this actual cancer treatment center. And the oncologist who stopped by is kind of like not wanting to take responsibility for things, and saying, like, you can try this, or this, but I think it's too late, or whatever. But multiple times he's been told, just give up, she's done for, that sort of deal. But this all being against the backdrop of just like the actual dynamics of this family, and all my attempts to like break out of the narcissistic abuse in my family. I don't know if I ever really talked about this in much detail. I may have at some point in time or another, but for all intents and purposes, I think my mom has either, she could be and obviously she's never gone in, because I mean, if you got these sorts of tendencies, you obviously are not of the mindset that there's anything wrong with you. Same thing with my sister. It's like there's nothing ever wrong with them, so why should I go in and see if I have a personality disorder, or I need to get diagnosed or get help or whatever. But for all intents and purposes, my mom, has a narcissistic personality disorder. Maybe might be borderline. It's one of those two. It's one of those two where it's either she's narcissistic or she's just borderline. And it's the same thing with my sister. And the relationship I've had with her and my sister is, if you could call it that, it's something that I've had to come to terms with, where it's sort of like, you're not, it's like they don't really love you. They're not really interested in anything that you're interested in. There's not really any actual connection there. It's just like, you're useful. You're useful for them to get their narcissistic supply, to get them to, or for them to get you to do things for them, to be their maid or their servant or their court jester, and or to get them what they're looking for, which is like alcohol, let's say, or tobacco. And if you refuse to, or you can't, well, then you're, who the fuck are you? Pardon my language. Who the hell are you? You're no good to them. You got no real value to them. and you might as well be dead. And I'm sure they'll be like, no, that's not it, or whatever, or they'll be like, or they'll, particularly in my sister's case, they'll just like fly off the handle at you, like as if you don't have a right to, take issue with that. And I'm speaking of this, all of this, coming at you with all this in the midst of myself being sick. I caught some sort of bug. I think it was sort of like feels like it was the flu pretty much, mixed in with a really bad cough. And, like last night, I had to go, and, I couldn't stay at the hospital. I was really sick, I couldn't stay there and be visiting with my mom, and I had to leave and go get some nighttime, flu medicine, and then try and take that. And, when I'm in the midst of this, fever, which obviously I didn't take a temperature. I knew I was sick, and I had to get better. And in the midst of, having taken the medicine and trying to sleep, trying to sort of let the medicine do its work, let my immune system do its work, having to hear my sister just like bitching about me at the top of her lungs at my dad, but how I don't do anything, and I'm this, that, and the other. And it's like, and then today, like, when my sister decides that she's gonna, leave, for wherever, the hospital or whatever, she, like, has to come into my room, and I don't, that room, I don't even want to call it my room. It's not really my room anymore. I don't really live here. This isn't my house or my home. And I got to keep that in mind, because I know they're going to try and, like, get me back. They're trying to get me back into the old role that I was in, and I really don't want to be part of that. And my only real support right now is my 92, 93-year-old grandma, which sucks. Maybe I should reach out to some other folks, but anyways, where was I? Oh, my sister comes into my room right before she's about to leave and says she's going to leave my door open, and I have to get up every 15 minutes to check on the dogs and, all this crap. And she knows I'm sick, and she knows I need to get my rest, and she knows that I'm not going to be able to be all that useful if I'm, sick. And, I text my father about it, and he just starts coming with excuses for her behavior, and it's just like, how the hell is any of that doing any good, But it's the same old, like, they thought they could keep on, they thought they could keep on doing things the same old way, and it would just, nothing would come back and bite them in the ass. Nothing would come back and, haunt them. And now they're dealing with the consequences, and they're just, like, lashing out and, like, trying to, flail for some sort of, like, life raft or whatever. And it's just like, and they're finally drowning in the consequences of their own actions. And all this is going on against a backdrop of, like, this is what this family really is, or this family is really like, Like, for my sister, she saw my mom beat up on my dad all these years, and she saw my dad beat up on me all these years, and it's like, at the best, I am a tool. At the worst, I'm a punching bag, And this is how this family works when, when crises hit, when this kind of stuff happens, where they finally start having to face consequences. And, I'm listening to a bit of this, talk on, the death of a narcissist by Dr. Ramani on YouTube, and it's helping a bit, but, man, I don't know. It's like, you get to these points and you just like realize certain things about, like, life in general, and how your family really saw you, and how they really saw life, and just how, like, so many damn things were just lies, well-crafted lies. And, you're almost 40 years old, and it's like, you're so damn traumatized by all of this that you struggle to function, Like, I don't know. Sorry, folks. I don't know how it is I ever even got out of the house and got something going. Now that I've been laid off, it's like my folks are trying to take advantage of that, trying to get me down here, and I'm just like, no. I'll find employment up there, away from them. I don't want to be anywhere near my family. And, and I realize that even with what little I've accomplished in my life, it's like I wasn't even supposed to do that, especially after a certain point. It was supposed to be like a case of me being the eternal housekeeper, running hither and thither for for my family, and basically being a eunuch. It's essentially what it meant. I mean, they might as well have had me. They might as well have had me castrated and just had me be this eunuch who was never supposed to, quote unquote, sire my own bloodline or have my own house or have my own life. I'm just supposed to feel like guilty or, self-hating if I ever did get anything going, And I think, like, maybe, that's why so many things are such a problem for me. Why I have such hang-ups with relationships, where, like, I'm afraid that, this girl or that girl is showing interest in me is just like my mother, because I've had at least one girlfriend who treated me the way my mother has treated my dad, or my sister's treated me. And, I've almost had this sense that it's, like, unnatural for me to, like, be able to, like, have all those things. If you see, like, if you see pictures of, like, young people out at a pool party getting to just have that freewheeling, hedonistic fun, enjoying their lives, living it to the best, it's like beautiful women to me as an idea. They don't represent just like the SEX. It's like the life that in truth I always wanted for myself, but I'll never get to have. And it's like, because my family made certain decisions for me, even when I tried to go out in my 20s and have some fun, it was always super limited, super restricted, and it's always this huge, like, goddamn fight. You're supposed to be at home doing this and that. You're supposed to be XYZ ABC. Where the hell are you? Why are you out there? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? And sometimes maybe I shouldn't have been out there hanging out with this group or that group of people. Maybe I should have been, studying harder. Maybe if I'd had a better support network for that kind of stuff, etc., etc. But, like, it's also, it seemed like my life was decided for me by my folks, and I was never really supposed to go too far out there. I was really supposed to go and, break away and live in another world where, I could have a life free of these kinds of problems. And then I'm supposed to feel like I'm some entitled douche for, like, not wanting that and choosing something different and not, and, like, working hard on my finances and my education and all that. And, I've always had this fear that even as successful as I've gotten, that it'll all be used against me, I've kept my credit card's in pretty decent check. And they extended my credit line on one of them pretty significantly. And, on one of the credit rating bureaus, my credit score jumped back up to the excellent level. And, I've had to learn all these lessons about the real world and life and adulthood. And it's just like what's going to happen, if my mom passes away, my dad just kind of himself fades away and dies. My sister going to try and latch onto me and get me to pay for the mortgage on my parents' house, which my parents somehow haven't paid off all these years, so that what I can be working for the next 20 or 30 years as a freaking eunuch, providing my sister with free room and board, so that she doesn't have to grow up and she's now engaged and she can get married and have kids in that house and do all of those things while I'm just like, I don't know, doing what, Is that the future that, as I had, that we'll be having my mother's funeral because she couldn't give up the sauce and my dad kept on buying it for her. And I mean, even when she was in the skilled nursing home this last time after her bout with double pneumonia, my dad was sneaking alcohol in there to her. Yeah, that stuff. He was doing those sorts of things. And I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm 36 years old. In some ways, I feel older than I really am. In other ways, I feel like I'm this damn 16-year-old kid, 15, 16-year-old kid stuck in that state of mind after my dad brought his narcissistic, sociopathic, child molesting, rapist nephew into our lives and forced me to share a room with him. And while he didn't do anything of a sexual nature to me, he definitely psychologically emasculated me. And it seems like ever since that point in my life, that part of me has been stuck in that state. And the rest of my family has been perfectly fine with that, because as long as I didn't get it together, I could never get too far away from them. They could always use me. They could always take advantage of my crippling. And they crippled me. And as much as my sister will complain about all sorts of stuff, like, she's played her role in all of that, and has definitely benefited from that, because she always has her excuses. And here I sit, and I'm in this, like, fatigued out, spaced out fugue. I don't know anymore. I left like a pair of clothes in my room, which, I may have to just sacrifice in order to get out of there. There's like a handful of things I want out of that house, including some stuff that my grandfather left behind. And I know the a-holes my family are, they will try and hold that over me, because that's who, how, and what they are, And I don't know anymore. I don't want to be a part of this family anymore, because this is how this family is. That's how my family is. They're just... they're like the chain smoker who gets lung cancer and then wants to play a victim and act like he or she or they are so shocked that they got lung cancer. And it's just like, your smoking could have had something to do with it. You didn't want to listen. You didn't want to get help. You wanted to go and rage at everybody else so they didn't buy you a pack of cigarettes. And you wanted to treat your kids like dog crap and your spouse like dog crap, when they told you needed to get help, and that they couldn't, they couldn't do anything about it. You need to go in and own up to it, and that sort of thing. And I don't know. You know, I can easily say that I don't care when I'm sitting here in my car, but if I'm in the room with my mom, it kind of gets hard, you know. And like yesterday, I ran over to this, Subway to get her a sandwich, and I come back, and then it's like, oh, she doesn't want to eat it, and this was like, okay, so what was the point of that? I spent my own money. I mean, it might not have been $1,000, but it was my own money still to get you the sandwich and the gas bill and all this stuff, and it's just like, is this a game to you? Are you trying to go out like this? One last hurrah to get your narcissistic supply, even if it kills you. Is that what this is about? I'm tired of these people, and I'm having to try to tell myself that the reason I am the way I am, even if you want to say that I'm falling for this stuff yet again, is the fact that I'm a human and I'm not a bad person. And so many of my, actions where I think I'm bringing them in as something that's important to me, that we can have a connection through this or that, it's because I'm a human being and I'm not a bad person. And, it's like you got this natural desire to connect with your family and your friends, with other people. And if they misuse that, that's on them. At the same time, like, I have to become cold-hearted, and it sucks because, see, like, this yet is another thing that impacts on my relationships with people. I think a lot of the reason why, in some ways, I have become cold-hearted or become, like, less tolerant or so is because I've been taken advantage of, like this, like, if they ever saw there was any scrap of, like, compassion or mercy or care or understanding in me, it was like, oh, let's go use that. Let's see if we can get something out of that, And there were all these times where it was like, my mom, my sister would be like nice to me, but it was like with the caveat that I go get them more of their poison, so to speak, or it was because they had gotten some of that, through my dad, and they were in their high phase, and it was just like, it was so damn fake. It was like, being expected to be their drug dealer. You don't get to be her son, you don't get to be her brother, you don't get to be his son, you don't get to be, a family member or a friend. You get to be their drug dealer. And if you refuse to be their drug dealer, well, that's all that you could ever be. So who the hell are you? Get the hell out of my life. Get the hell out of here. You're POS. That's their response. You a-hole. Or if you were a real man. Everyone, has heard that expression, I think, at some point in their life, if they're a guy. If you were a real man, you would do X, Y, Z. And it's all just manipulation and lies, You need to man up and do this, that, and the other. And no, screw that. So anyways, before I completely lose my voice, I'm going to finish up recording this, and I'll see if I'm going to upload it or not. I probably will, just because I need to, deal with things as they are. Maybe try and get some rest or something. But anyways, I'll see you folks around. Thanks for watching. Thanks for the support. Bye-bye.